Wer jetzt kein Haus hat, baut sich keines mehr. Wer jetzt allein ist, wird es lange bleiben.
Warum liest du mir immer nur traurige Gedichte vor?
I had met Fassbinder in the theater. He was doing a play by Claire Booth-Luce, Women of New York. And after that, he offered me different roles, but these films never were made. And so, I thought I'm probably never going to hear from him again. And then, I think 2 years later, he called me for Alexanderplatz. And I was really quite surprised because I didn't really see myself in that role. I thought it was a wonderful role, but I was really surprised that he would cast me. I mean, I was doing classical repertoire in the theater, and I was playing mostly kind of emancipated women, strong women, more intellectual women. And actually also in Women of New York, I was playing this kind of ditzy sales girl. And then Berlin Alexanderplatz Mieze was a little whore and naive and, completely different, sweet.
Fährt ein weißes Schiff nach Hongkong.
Lola is a businesswoman. She has a goal. She wants to be independent. She wants to have her own business. And probably she was hurt. Obviously, her plan with Schuckert didn't work out. And maybe she didn't have, her father wasn't there. Her father had fallen in war. So I guess she didn't expect much from men in support for herself. So I suppose she felt she has to do it on her own. And she uses her female attributes for that quite smartly. You get that wonderful big part, and you want to be liked, and you won't get other big parts. It was kind of the beginning of my film career. And so one voice in my head said, I have to play that woman so that everybody will find her really wonderful. And she has to be seductive and erotic and all that. And the other part, the good actress in me said, that's not the role. The role is that this woman is somewhere broken, that she's somewhere calculating, that, this business element. And that's not quite as appealing. And I sort of fought with me and I think finally the actress with the responsibility to the part and to the subject kind of won. I wanted to talk with him about Lola, about the role, because I was just used talking about a part before I did it. And I remember one day one of his closer circle called me and said, Barbara Reiner's inviting you for dinner. He wanted to talk about Lola, and he was exploding with laughter. And I said, why are you laughing? And he said, he never does that. Reiner doesn't talk about parts. Maybe it was Juliana who called me. And so I went to this dinner, and it was a very, very long dinner. And I think it was until 3 o'clock in the morning or so. And I talked about the part, and he talked about the part, and everything that I had imagined about that part and what I had said, I think nothing of that was done. He had completely his own idea. I think he probably thought, let her get it out of her system. And, I know what to do. But it made me feel good, but I don't think it had really any effect. He gave very little direction. He gave you little hints sometimes. You heard him laugh when you did certain things, so you kind of knew which direction he wanted to go. I think he had the film completely in his head. the film he wanted to shoot. He was shooting in sequence. He knew exactly how the film was supposed to be edited. That's why at the end of the day we didn't watch dailies. We watched it already put together. You know, I mean, he had an idea how he wanted to put the film together. It was very quick, and I liked it. Because I always feel either you do something really spontaneously or you really rehearse very, very long. I think 5 takes, 6 takes, what is usually done, you're kind of stuck somewhere in the middle. And then also, you know, sometimes you have a partner who you know is only coming at the 4th take to his full potential, and if you are quicker, then you kind of try to economize yourself and go slower, or you know, knowing it's this one time and you go do it spontaneously. I really like that.
Deine lebenslustigen Geschichten anhören muss.
Also dafür wirst du bezahlen. Also hör zu, denn jetzt kommt das Schärfste. Autsch!
But it gave a real good concentration on the set, because everybody had to be there and be present, and you just couldn't, you know, how many times do you have, oh, there's a microphone in there and somebody forgot to put an ashtray there and somebody forgot this, and these are all little disturbances which eat on your concentration. But if you know, you have to be there. Actually, there's one interesting thing. During Lola, we had a little running gag there, Rainer and I, because he was very happy in this shoot, and he was talking and singing, and everybody had a great time. But since this was my first big movie, really, I had a hard time concentrating, you know, when it was and then, you know, clap, and you had to start. And so I said to him, could you just be a couple of seconds quiet before I start? And then he shouted all over the set, and he said, okay, we'll have a silent minute for Miss Sukowa. And I said, you don't need a minute, just a couple of seconds. And then every single shot we did, he would say before, yell over the set, and now a silent minute for Miss Sukowa. He would just pester me with this during the entire film. Yeah, of course I was worried about that scene. I knew it was going to be only one take, and I didn't think he would practice it, you know, rehearse a lot. So I went, actually, the night before, I went to the studio and sort of checked out the stage and how it was. And but then the next day he just said, you know, start there and end on Mario's shoulders. Go. We did one run, you know, just for the camera, the dry run, and then with the singing and everything, I just had to do it.
Tag, als der Regen kam, lang ersehnt, heißer Flete, auf die glühenden Felder.
Oh, he did original sound. It wasn't dubbed. He wanted me to sing, really.
Auf die durstigen Wälder.
After Lola, I got suddenly propositions to do contemporary music, and since then I have done music on the side. Not on the side, actually it has become quite important in my career. I mean, I've done Schoenberg and Honecker and Prokofiev and all that. The 50s, you know, was very repressed still. People didn't want to really deal with politics. They didn't want to deal with these questions. I think all they wanted to do is forget. And you know, in Lola, I think all these radio noises and music and the clanging of the building machines and the hammers to rebuild Germany. I mean, all this noise, I think, was there to show that basically they didn't want to listen to certain things they should have listened to. You know, it was just sort of overlaying all the guilt and the shame and the problems.
Wenn bei Capri die rote Sonne im Meer versinkt und vom Himmel die bleiche Sichel des Mondes blinkt.
One song, the Capri Fisher, is about, these fishermen in Italy. It was also the time, the 50s, when the Germans became tourists, late 50s maybe. They went to Italy and they discovered Italy and Spain, and they brought in new drinks, like the red wine that was some from Italy, or songs. It was the longing for another world.
In die Fischer mit ihren Booten aufs Meer hinaus.
There was this, there was kind of a giddiness sometimes. Fassbinder said this time was so colorful, so he really perceived the 50s as colorful. It was not just a formal thing that he put, me in pink and Mueller-Stahl in blue. I lived in that time, and I wasn't, of course, at the time aware, but today I certainly am, that all these people, my parents, my teachers, the people who raised me, they had all gone through the war and what that actually meant. And I think it was an absolutely traumatized people. They had seen the films of the opening of the concentration camps, but they had also themselves had incredible losses. And they were the perpetrators. And I can't even imagine what it meant to deal with all that.
Ihr Mann ist im Krieg geblieben?
Stalingrad.
Stalingrad. Jetzt haben wir schon 10 Jahre Frieden, mehr als 10 Jahre Frieden. Gebe Gott, dass unser aller Leben lang dauert.
Since they were the perpetrators, of course, they could never deal with their own losses and with their own pain. A lot of people had, lost their relatives, their sons, fathers, mothers. But they were not allowed to deal with that because of the Holocaust and of the guilt they carried, And so that makes strange people.
Meine Tochter, sie ist Sängerin.
Ah, Sängerin, sehr schön. Klassisch oder modern?
Klassisch. Eigentlich eher klassisch. Und meistens ist sie auf Tournee.
Hi, good morning.
America and American soldiers, they were a strong presence in Germany. And I remember as a child, the big, we called them Straßenkreuzer, street cruisers, the big cars. And when there was a car was appearing in the street, we would all run to the car, and then they would give us chewing gum. So that was something that was very much there. And also, they were very often the only African-American people we saw. We didn't see many people from Africa at the time. So it was the first time that I saw somebody with a black face.
Also ich weiß auch nicht, wo sie das her hat.
During the war, most of the men were gone. And the women really ran Germany. And that was hard. With the bombs, with no food, with... They ran the farms, they ran factories, they ran the families alone. And then when the men came back, it was as if that had never happened. And women were kind of pushed back into their old woman's role of being the housewife and mother. I think he liked to use women in film because he felt that women have a wider range of expressing emotions, because they're just socially not so determined. They don't have to put up a facade so much than men. I mean, now probably with women being in the corporate world, it's probably similar, but at the time, he thought that he could just express what he wanted or what he wanted to tell about a character better, or what he wanted to tell about his country, whatever he wanted to tell, through a woman, because this component of emotions was more available to him. I think he was very perceptive. He came from a bourgeois background, and I'm always amazed how tender he describes sort of blue-collar people, and how he grants them their dreams and doesn't look down on them.
Und wenn Sie dann sagen, wenn Sie jetzt bitte Platz nehmen wollen, es ist angerichtet.
For example, the mother of Lola. She's obviously a very simple woman. I mean, she's now a cleaning woman. She tries to hold on to something, you know. She says she's a housekeeper. But she uses cliches when she talks, but you never have the feeling he denounces her or looks down on her. He had really his very own language. And I think at the time, a lot of the filmmakers were looking towards the new cinema in America. They were looking towards Scorsese or Cassavetes. And Fassbinder was looking towards Douglas Sirk. People in Germany, filmmakers or theater makers, tried to be more realistic at the time, and he didn't, but which turned out to be then more naturalistic, and he didn't care about this. If you look at Ali Eats Soul, you probably wouldn't see in other films a cleaning lady with long fingernails and false eyelashes. Or in Maria Braun, when Hanna Schicula and Elizabeth Trissner go with high heels and designer clothes, designed clothes through the ruins. But that was his specific style. He kind of wanted to bring that Hollywood glamour, and he mixed it with sometimes this narrowness of Germany, and that specific mixture made this look.
Dafür war ich meiner Frau sehr dankbar, dass sie mich gelehrt hat, wieder Gefühle zu empfinden. Auch wenn es ein Schmerz war.
Fassbinder told these very critical stories, critical of society, critical of Germany, but he didn't make it dry and theoretical and boring. He always put it in a form that was somewhat sexy, you know, somehow appealing. He didn't want to have sort of the gray kitchen naturalism or the very heady, academic, intellectual approach where that is very much in the foreground. But he says a lot of things. I mean, there are a lot of references and subtleties where he says what he wants to say. It was interesting when the film first came out. I said, this film is going to be good in 10 years. And I think that's a bit what happened. Quite a few people who had seen the film when it came out were not so crazy about it. And when they saw it 10 years later, a lot of people said to me, oh, when it first came out, I didn't know how good it was. And then 10 years later, they really grasped it.